Hello everyone, welcome to my vlog. So today is Wednesday morning and I hope everyone has a fantastic week. And I have received a couple messages from my viewers, and they were asking about the backgrounds, if I wouldn't mind to share my approach, how I deal with backgrounds from my headshots. So I will be delighted to talk about it and go through this entire process step by step. I'll also try to make this a little bit funny video for the first time, so I hope you guys gonna enjoy it. So going back to the backgrounds, as you probably know, there's different schools about headshots backgrounds. Some people like white backgrounds, some people like more artistic, and Dylan Patrick was one of those guys who started doing amazing work on creating some spectacular backgrounds. I personally fall in love with those, and I have to admit I steal a little bit his concept and try to kind of implement it in my work. The problem what I have is that Calgary, the place where I live, pretty much 8 months out of the year we have winter, so unfortunately I'm really limited to shoot outside, and I have to pretty much use this concept shooting in very I have to say unfluttered places, and then somehow come up with some ideas to make this work. You probably have seen some of the images I've created. I've been all over the place, and then I'm always trying to make this work and then do whatever I can to create that cool background in the places where if you look at them, they don't really look, I have to say, photogenic, if we could say that way. So let's talk about what is important as far as the background goes, and then what impacts what, and how we have to deal from the technical standpoint to make the background the way I'm doing it, which is pretty simply very blurred, kind of milky look. You don't really see where the person is. You're trying to come up with some ideas to make this background somehow work with the person you're shooting, but at the same time I'm not really shooting backgrounds which are like visible and sharp, like 99%. Those backgrounds are very blurred. So let's talk about the technical side of this. So I would like to show you, I have little assistant, and this is my kids toys, which is the Cookie Monster, and I also have a little book which gonna be our background. So basically, let's talk about it, how this whole thing works. So let's say I have a person which will be photographed. There's our background, and basically what we're gonna try to figure out is like what impacts the blurry background. So there's three things which impact how background is blurred, and I noticed that a lot of photographers only use two of those things, and I'll actually point it out as the third thing, which also might be very helpful, and I've been using that for well, as far as I've been shooting headshots. So the first thing, let's say we're shooting from this side, one of the common things which we do is the zoom. So let's say we're shooting 200, or let's start with 100 mil or 150 or 200. Depends on the zoom, that's going to impact our blur of the background. The next thing, and this is, I would say, most common thing what photographers do, is aperture. More we open the aperture to, let's say, 3.2, 2.8, even lower, that's also going to affect our background. And then more open, it's going to be more blurred. But there's another thing what we can do, and a lot of photographers don't do that. If we move our subject away from the background, that's also going to impact our background, how blurred it is. So like the closer it is, it's going to be more in sharp. We move this person away, it's going to be more blurred. So we can really control how the background is blurred. So that also depends where we're shooting, because let's say we're shooting in tight place where we cannot really move this person back and forth, then well, we have to just pretty much stick to our aperture and our zoom. If let's say we're shooting outside and we have ability to move the person away, that also has gonna impact how the background is blurred. And it's pretty cool, because if you want to, let's say, keep your 3.2 and 2.8 and you want to really kind of have a control over how the background is blurred, that's the best way to do that. But again, you have to have a place where technically you can move that person, because most of the time, well, in my case, I have to shoot inside, but there is some situations where I, let's say, shoot in like a huge office, or I'm shooting, let's say, in the house which have a lot of room. Then I can basically decide at which directions I want to go and how I want to control this whole thing. So that's the three things what we can do in order to control the background and how blurred it is. And then we have to some kind of find the sweet spot, which we will see that it's gonna work, and then it's gonna be not too blurred, or it's gonna be like, depends on your aesthetics. Everyone is different, and everyone likes different things. I also keep learning those things, because sometimes I like my images very blurred, sometimes I like the little bit well, some structure or some lines or something be more visible, so I move the person, or I control aperture to get that the way I want it. So that's something which unfortunately takes practice, and we have to somehow figure it out before the shoot, how this whole thing's gonna look like. So there's as I said, there's a lot of I would say practice goes which goes into this to make this work. So now I'm going to be chatting a little bit more about my favorite backgrounds and how I approach them. So I'm going to be talking about three different scenarios, and we'll start with like the most difficult ones, and to those ones which I actually really like, and this is what makes my backgrounds look super cool. So let me start, and I'm going to be showing some examples here, so you guys also going to see how the image looks like. So with places where they're really tight, and then I'm talking mostly about corporate shoots where I have a client in some office, and well, they want to have a quick headshot, and there is no room, there's, let's say, tiny office, and there's not much what we can do. 99% of those shoots I always shoot in hallways. I found that hallways are super cool, especially they really long most of the time. They have those amazing lines. Most of them also have some lights on the background, and I found those places works really well, especially to get this as I said, blurry feel to the background. We also have some lights and stuff, which always makes those images look super cool. Plus, most of the time, like those hallways are fairly open, nobody's there, so that gives me a little bit more intimacy with the client. The problem sometimes is that hallways might be really tight, and then there's not much room to move, or we have to set up the lights, might be really tight. But if you have ability to squeeze this whole thing in and then make this work, this is gonna be fantastic. So the next thing, and I've been chatting about this for a while, and this is using a projector. This is pretty cool idea. I've done several shoots with that. I'm still trying to figure it out, this whole thing, because in my opinion those images are a little bit more flat. The backgrounds are not as I would say contrasty, well, with different stuff, well, to make this images really pop. I'm still trying to figure out what to do in order to make those backgrounds more interesting. In my opinion, there's still a little bit of work ahead of us to get this idea really working, especially that it's something which I think that's the future of really cool backgrounds. Disadvantage of this projector thing is that you have to have a little bit of room, plus you have to have white background. There's a lot of those little details which you have to put in place to make this work. Not to mention you have to buy projector. I've been receiving a lot of questions about this, and I'm using very old projector. The projector is over 10 years old, and then a lot of photographers are asking what type of projector we need. I deeply believe that any projector will work, as long as you know how to deal with this and how to work to kind of make this background pop. You can try different images. I found more brighter images, they're gonna work better. Images which are less bright or dark, that's actually doesn't look really good. So you have to make sure to somehow still working on it to figure out if it's gonna work. And the last thing what I like the most is using an art. Any art piece will do the job. Even if you're going to the office, most of them, they have some piece of art which you can use as a background. I also noticed that if I go to the client house and they have, let's say, pretty boring place, but they also have some kind of type of art on the walls, that's something which really works. And the one tip what I would like to say about it is that it's good to somehow add some extra light on it to make this artwork pop a little bit more, and that's what I've been doing. Another idea, if you, let's say you're shooting at your own place, I recently actually went to Home Depot, bought a couple different art pieces, brought them home, did the shoot, and just returned them. I don't know if it's a good practices, but if you're starting off and you want to, let's say, figure it out how this whole thing works, that's something which I would highly recommend it, and I've done a couple shoots this way and they work fantastic. I really like how this whole thing's turned out. So another thing would be any type of art gallery. They have tons of different art pieces which if they're okay, you can come in and shoot and use that. And the last thing what I would like to say, what I really like the most is graffiti. This is something which I think is amazing piece of art which we can use to shoot headshots. I've done several shoots. The problem is that in Calgary all those graffitis are pretty much painted over. There is government organization which technically just goes around the city and then clean those up, which I'm sometimes frustrated because some of them, they're super cool, and if you like shooting outside and then you want to use some really cool art work as a background, and they always photograph well. You move your person away from the background, you add some extra light, and then those are the most amazing headshots I ever done it in my life. I think that they're amazing, and you can really use that as something to make your headshots looks pretty interesting and not boring with some plain background. Okay, so that would be everything. Well, I was trying to kind of cover as much as I could, and I will be looking forward to your questions, and I will be looking forward to your feedback on this. If you have any other ideas or any other concept, I will be more than happy to listen to you guys and hear and share some of the ideas you guys have regarding this topic. So I would like to wish you a fantastic week. I hope you guys gonna have amazing photo shoots, and I'll see you guys again on Friday. So stay tuned, and yeah, I will be chatting this coming Friday on some very interesting topic. So I'm signing off, and see you guys very soon.